Hello everyone and welcome back once again to the Justice for Aaron Brady campaign. Now, as we have said, we will bring you up to date with any developments in the ongoing trial that's taking place in the CCJ in Dublin at this moment in time. And once again, it has been proven that what we have said during the course of the campaign in relation to the investigation and the evidence produced against Aaron and our serious concerns about how that was done, this week, once again, a very major issue has been confirmed. And information we weren't sure of previously during the course of Aaron's trial has been confirmed this week. And it's in relation to, we bring it up here on the screen, inactive phones, unusual, murder trial is told. So you can see it up there on the screen. That's actually just a clip from the Irish Independent, and it's noteworthy here to mention that when you go looking for the information on the silence of the phones, you cannot access it. When you click on that link there, actually it goes to the 404 unavailable page, so there's an error. So let's have a look at this unusual silence. And at the end of this little video here, we're going to roll on to a video we done previously, and it shows our concerns nearly 2 years ago in relation to this phone silence at the time of the murder and robbery. And that means, and just pop up there on the screen, this is just a little chart I put together. There's no accuracy or anything in that chart you're looking at there, but it just says that Aaron's phone and 2 other people's phones are silent at the time of the murder and robbery. So that's from about 7:38 p.m. until just after 10 p.m. Now, as I said, that's just a quick guide as to what we were told, and there's no accuracy in that. It's just for demonstration purposes. So if we look again at the Independent report, it says unusual, and indeed Mr. Stain and Brendan Grehan, Senior Counsel for the Prosecution, used the words remarkable, unbelievable, very, very unusual in relation to the phones being silent for those 2 or 3 hours on Friday the 25th of January 2013. So we always presumed that it wasn't unusual, and we had said that. And indeed, during the course of Aaron's trial, I dare I say at the 11th hour when we were dealing with this point in fact, Aaron's defence team realised that at 12 other times during the course of January, the phones were silent in and around that time of the evening for that period of time, that length of time. Okay, so we have the mainstream media, Brendan Grehan, on Garda Síochána and the DPP saying that this is unusual. So what I want to look at is, and don't want to be too flippant about these things, but we have to put into context what these people are trying to say. So for example, if we see this headline here across the bottom of the screen, Johnny Sexton scores for Ireland, unusual, murder trial told. Well, no one would believe that. You would look into it and say Johnny Sexton scoring isn't unusual. Same goes again for the prolific striker, Haaland at Manchester City. If there was a headline saying Haaland scores for City and unusual, people wouldn't believe that and they would go and look at it. If the headlines went up again, Pope says the rosary, unusual, that would be challenged and it would be investigated. So we have to look at the investigation, the incident room in Fort Apache, and all those people around the room that day when the telephone reports come in. And I would assume, and I think it would be fair for everyone to assume, the phone data for the time of the murder would be the first to be looked at. And that's fair enough, and that would be correct and right procedure. So we have these people, we have The incident room in Dundalk, and you can see here we have Senior Investigating Officer Pat Murray. We have now Senior Investigating Officer Mark Phillips, Inspector Beggy, Inspector Brian Mohan, and others around the table. And the information comes in that Aaron Brady's phone and 2 other phones were silent in and around the time of the murder. So again, I don't want to be flippant, but I can imagine what happened was something like this. It's party time, we've solved the crime. That's what happened at the incident room when the scene that the phones were silent at that time on Friday the 25th. Now, I'm sure somewhere in that incident room, someone with a brain said, hold on a second. What if these phones were silent at other times in January? Should we check that rather than nailing our colours to the mast on one evening? Now, during the course of Aaron's trial, when we found out that the phones were silent on 12 other occasions during the course of January, we were uncertain if it had ever been investigated. So after the party time, in the incident room in Fort Apache, someone should have said, well, let's investigate and check the phone records. We have the phone records. We have an analyst, part-time airplane and airport enthusiast, Mr. Ed McGooey. We have him to look and put together the information and see if the phones are silent at any other time. And it has been proven this week, in the last 7 days, in the court in Dublin, Pat Murray, Mark Phillips, Beggy, Brian Mohan, all inspectors, never asked the analyst to check if the phones were silent at any other time. It is simply unbelievable. It is unacceptable, and it throws serious doubt into the ability these people have as investigators. Mark Phillips told us, I believe this week, he has some sort of a degree in investigation or detective work at Limerick University. Now, just breaking this down, very simple. They found out, and we understand that on the Friday evening, some phones were silent. Surely to God, they would have to go and check the other dates. Would you not go and check the other dates? Because we had people in that room, the likes of Beggy, Mohan, indeed Pat Murray, had walked round the border and this area here where we live, and we know for a fact phone coverage is absolutely terrible, which has been proven in the case of suspect B, and indeed where Aaron was at the time of the murder and robbery, in the diesel laundering yard in Cullaville. Absolutely no coverage. Now, the phones weren't switched off, that was never proven. There was just silence in the phones. And then we have to look at the example of Brendan Graham, Senior Counsel for the Prosecution, and indeed Junior Counsel for the Prosecution, Mr. Stain. So this information comes, the phones were silent at this time, and they're going out using words like, as we say here, unusual, extraordinary that these phones were all off at the same time. Now, Mr. Graham has either been kept like a mushroom by the guards on Garda Síochána, where they're keeping them in the dark and generally just feeding them manure. Or else I have a suspicion that Brendan Graham is a very, very intelligent man. He would have looked at that and said, is there a possibility these phones were silent at any other times in January? And he would have been told, we don't know, we never checked. Is that acceptable? In the most extensive and most high-profile investigation in the history of the Irish state, this is what we were told by a load of white shirts, Christy Mangan, Noreen O'Sullivan, Drew Harris, all these people have told us this is the most extensive investigation in the history of the Irish state. They have a vital piece of information that there was phone silence and they never check it for any other dates. It is pathetic. It's unacceptable. And it is a clear signal, a clear warning signal that these people, the DPP on Garda Síochána and the prosecution, are willing to mislead the court and mislead the Irish people in respect of vital information. This information was vital and went towards the wrongful conviction of our son Aaron, because the silence chart is not worth the paper it's written on. And the fact that they haven't investigated the other dates is simply, once again, we can say unbelievable. And it shows a curated and manufactured story. So the party that was had in the incident room in Fort Apache was somewhat premature. And we have to bring these facts to the Irish public that this is the behaviour of Garda Síochána and indeed the DPP. And I do remember Brendan Grehan said in his opening speech that there was a problem with cell site analysis and phone analysis because of the mountains and water in and around Carlingford Lough. Such bullshit. Mr. Grehan knows full well that there was phone data records used for other crimes in and around the Cooley Peninsula. So he was misleading the jury in his opening statement during the course of Aaron's trial, talking bullshit about water and mountains affecting phone coverage. So we just wanted to bring that, highlight that once again. Ongoing information in the trial that's taking place at the moment in Dublin. And thus far, the vital points that we have told you, the public, about. Joe Ryan has confirmed that Aaron Brady could not be the man who shot and murdered Detective Guard Adrian Donoghue. He confirmed the gunman was over 6 foot, 6'1", possibly 6'2". Mary, the credit union worker, again stated and confirmed in February this year that the man with the long bar running down the side of his leg was long and athletic. Detective Joe Ryan, it was told to us by Garda Brady, who was on duty in the radio office in Drogheda. And Garda Brady told us that Joe Ryan said that the vehicle leaving the scene of the robbery was dark grey. Mary, the credit union worker, said the vehicle was dark grey and she was looking at it for nearly a minute. And Brendan Grehan, the DPP and Garda Síochána want us to believe that it was a blue Passat that was used in the Northern robbery and that someone drove it over 30 kilometres away into the heartland of the PSNI head station in Newtown, Hamilton. After discharging a firearm at a robbery, they were going to drive the vehicle for nearly 40 kilometres. It never happened. And if we take this along with the phone silence that's been manipulated, the evidence from the two main witnesses has been manipulated, and we've ended up with a false and unfair conviction that must be overturned, it must be looked at, and justice must be seen to be done. And once again, to confirm that we have been working on this and seeing all these facts, and indeed about the phones, we're just going to roll into a little video I think we done about 18 months ago, which highlights the exact same facts and details that the whole prosecution story is manipulated and curated. So thank you once again for watching. Please continue to like, comment and share. And we're just going to roll into a little video that we played. It's only 3 minutes long, I think about 18 months ago. And thank you once again for following the Justice for Aaron Brady campaign. Thank you.
At 10 to 8, Brady texted Jessica again saying, I'm going to get soaked in a while. Ripping. Brady had more than one phone. From 8:29 p.m, 1 hour before the murder's attack, until 10:14 p.m, his phones went dead, as did those of other suspected gang members.
We've just seen another short clip, a small extract from the RTE primetime programme. Once again, the very worrying trait of the omission of very vital facts and information and detail in relation to this phone silence. We know for a fact that there were 5 raiders that took part in the murder and robbery at Lordship Credit Union. Brendan Graham, the senior counsel for the prosecution, went into some detail that there were other people involved in the logistics and the preparation of the crime. So therefore, I'm sure we can expect to see that at least 5, 6, 7, possibly more handsets were silent or inactive at the time of the murder and robbery. However, if I just put the graph up on the screen here, this is a graph we've reconstructed from the prosecution storyboard, and it shows phone silence from 8:30 until approximately 10:15 for 3 handsets, for Aaron, suspect A and suspect B. So again, we have this very sinister way of producing a story, a curated and manufactured story, without any facts and detail, which substantiates the fact that the known fact that 5 people took part in this robbery. We also have the bizarre situation where a man pointed out in court to be a member or part of the logistics team or head of logistics, and he has absolutely no phone contact with any of the suspected raiders. We also have the very worrying situation here, and it's obviously something we're investigating, and we'll bring much more light and much more detail to it in the very near future, is no cell site analysis has been used in this crime, which is highly, highly unusual. And as far as we are aware at this moment in time, no other murder crime has been brought to court without cell site analysis. So it's obviously something we're working diligently in the background, and we'll bring the details of that to you a little later on. So once again, we know there was at least 5 people involved in the murder and robbery, possibly more people in preparation and logistics, and yet to show us a graph like this here that only involves 3 people. Now, it's also very worthy to note, which was omitted from RTE primetime once again. Fiona Murphy, senior counsel for the prosecution, brought to light that on 12 occasions during the course of January, a similar pattern emerged with the 3 phones being silent or inactive between 6 p.m. and 10 or 11 p.m. in the evening. So therefore, this fantasy that was created by Brendan Graham, that this was some sort of a very unique situation, is factually incorrect. And again, it's part of a curated and manufactured story, not only by Garda DPP and the prosecution, but we obviously see here that the primetime reporter, who's seen the other details in court, fails to report the facts and the details as they were put to the court in Dublin.